Hi folks, it's me, the Bee, and welcome back to another review. For a film that was more or less made as an apology for The Thing, Starman still remains one of John Carpenter's most underrated and, for that matter, very romantic films. It is unpretentious, but at the same time, it has a definitive sense of humanity to it. There's no over-the-top histrionics, there's no overtly saccharine stuff being made. This is a very personal film, and even though this was Carpenter trying to get back into the good graces of the audiences and the critics alike, I still feel it is a legitimately good movie. It's not one of his best, but it is definitely one of those low-key underdog sort of films. It doesn't try to be anything more than what it is, and its two greatest assets are the actors. The story itself is very straightforward, and it's basically it's a story that we all know. Like, you have a alien man meets human woman, they learn about each other's culture, they learn that there is more to their worlds than they could possibly imagine, and then they fall in love. But you have two really good performers. You have Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. And even though they're not what you would typically associate with romantic film material, that actually works in its favour. These are two grounded individuals. Karen Allen is going through a hell of a time. She has recently lost her husband, and she's not dealing with her grief in the best way she can, and it's just been really, really difficult for her. And then this man comes into her life who looks exactly like her deceased husband, and she's taken for a spin by it. But rather than have the Starman take advantage of this woman's state, he actually helps her work through her grief. And the relationship that burgeons between them, it is so sweet. It's not reliant on the typical romantic movie tropes, like there's no kissing in the rain and there's no, racing to the airport to catch them at the last minute. No, it's not like that. This is a human story told through the eyes of two very different individuals. And even though this film has not made me cry, it still made me messed up. It's a very sweet and very gentle film. And you know what? Even though Carpenter is mainly associated with horror and thriller sort of titles, when he branches off into unfamiliar territory, it's actually kind of cool. I personally would love to see another one of these films by John Carpenter that sort of deals with human emotions. But that's another sort of video. So back to Starman. It is a film that is that relies on the strength of its actors, and it does that. Karen Allen is a very unconventional romantic lead. She's not classically beautiful, and she doesn't have the quirky charm of Meg Ryan. She's, in terms of romantic heroine, she's definitely one of the more every woman types. You can see into this woman's soul, and you can see yourself in her. Same thing can be said about Jeff Bridges. And even though it could be argued that, Jeff Bridges was quite hot back in the day, let's face it, he still has a very sort of, everyman charm about him. He's the sort of man that you would see on the street, but not automatically assume that he is this being from a supernatural world. It's it is a film that knows its strengths, and it is also a film that doesn't pretend to, glorify anything else about it. Like, the story, as I said, is very straightforward, and even though you could argue that the fact of a human woman falling in love with a Martian man is kind of pushed the envelope, it still comes back to the human relatability of the characters, what they do and what they say. Bridges' astonishment at the world that Karen Allen lives in, it's like a child. It's like a child seeing the world through wide eyes. The humans and their realm is just so interesting to him, and it could have been so easy for Bridges' character to sort of act like the child that you may expect from any other conventional fish out of water stories, but no, he has a quiet astonishment to it. But at the same time, he's just very he's kind of confused by humans, but he wants to learn more about them. And when he has Alan's character with him, he comes to realize that, you know, human beings are very complex creatures, but that's not a separation from what he is. He himself is a very complex creature. He just comes from another world. And he happens to look like Jeff Bridges. There's not a lot... Sorry, those were my birds. There's really not a lot I can really say about this film that hasn't already been said. Like I have said before, it is not exactly the most spectacular of Carpenter's career. But I also feel with that sense of unfamiliarity there comes a sense of surprise. And there's nothing more refreshing than a director who steps outside of their boundaries and tries something different. Even though it was made as a, hey, sorry, after the thing, like it's still a really good effort. And in saying that, I give Starman a 3.5 out of 5. I remember thinking when I first saw this film, it wasn't that spectacular, but I was kind of missing the point. Truth be told, I didn't exactly know what to expect from a romantic drama sort of John Carpenter film, but upon initially seeing it, I didn't take into consideration what the story was truly about. And it wasn't until much later, like when I was 27, that I realised upon rewatching that this is arguably one of John Carpenter's most human films. It's not trying to make a political statement. It's trying to tell a story about the very real emotion of human grief and joy and just boundless curiosity. And it's a beautiful movie. Like, it's got the typical sort of you know, filmmaking style of Carpenter with the Steadicam and the use of composition and the music. The music is so lovely. It is once again one of those soundtracks that don't exactly stand out to you when you're listening to the film, but when you are listening to it on an isolated track, that is when you pay attention to the love and the humbleness of it. It's a very humble film, and that is why I feel it works well for what it does. So, after that admittedly very brief review, I thank you once again for hearing me ramble, and as usual, I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.